I'm in my ASU stuff today because we're down here at ASU with Jesse Lowman. So, Jesse, if you would tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay. I'm
DJ's here
and
as well.
DJ's here as well.
Also his Sparky stuff.
Big Sparky fan. So I'm Jesse Lowman. I'm the athletic trainer for the baseball team here at ASU. Here at ASU, we have athletic trainers for every sport. So I'm solely baseball. We're at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, and I pretty much live here for the most part. So
Awesome.
really only on campus. I guess when there's a meeting or a need over there.
Okay.
My background, I went to school grew up actually close to Phoenix in Maricopa, Arizona, about 45 minutes south of Phoenix. So I grew up supporting ASU and coming to ASU games and baseball games, and went from, after high school, I went to Chandler Gilbert Community College for 2 years. And then after Chandler Gilbert, trying to decide what I wanted to do, and had certainly been around baseball and wanted to stay in baseball. I needed to find something to do that I enjoyed, and so came across the athletic training program at Sacramento State University in California, and went up there. Finished my education in '07, and then was quick to move back to Arizona. I love this state, so I had moved back here and started at Horizon High School. While I was at Horizon, I was a head athletic trainer there for 4 years. Finished my graduate degree while I was there, and went from there to Scottsdale Community College. Was there for 4 years, and then after Scottsdale, which I really had intended on being at Scottsdale for a real long time, I got a call asking if I was interested to take over this job, and so I think I'm here, and I don't think I'll leave. So I think I'll retire at ASU, and I fully intend on being with ASU baseball for 20 years. So
That's awesome. This is like your dream
this
job.
is it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So.
Very cool. Okay, so if somebody wants to get into sports medicine, what do they need to do?
So things are changing, and it's kind of a very evolving educational program now for athletic training. What used to be so before me, it was just an internship. You get a bachelor's degree in a related field. You apply for an internship to get your hours that you need to take the certification exam, and then that's kind of all you needed at the time.
Okay.
And it was extensive, but then they decided to switch it to an educational program where it was a required bachelor's program with an accreditation to it that gave you the ability to sit for the certification exam. And that's what I went through. Now it's changing again, where they're no longer making it the minimum requirement to sit for the certification exam now is going to be a graduate degree. So it's going to be an undergraduate degree in a related field, and then the master's degree is going to be at only certain institutions that offer it, where you go get your master's degree in an accredited program and then sit for the exam.
Wow.
So ASU doesn't have one of those programs, but say if I was an ASU student, I'd get my undergraduate degree in exercise science, and then I'd go to a place like Northern Arizona University that has a graduate program, and do that. Grand Canyon is actually in the process of switching theirs to they've had an undergraduate program. They're now just going to be a graduate program. So that's kind of the shift in education to get the minimum done so you can become an athletic trainer.
Wow. Okay.
Those programs, where there used to be, I don't know how many hundreds of undergraduate athletic training programs in the country, those are now probably getting cut by half.
Wow.
So I think it's good for the profession. I think we're going to lose a lot of people that may have done athletic training as undergrad, that may move on and do something else as a graduate study. But that's kind of the minimum. And after that, after you finish your education, you take the certification exam. Excuse me. Certification exam is 5 hours of pretty extensive stuff that covers anatomy and physiology, specific taping treatments, evaluation of injuries, and all that. So it gets pretty extensive after that. But the test takes some time. You pass that, and then you're able to practice athletic training anywhere in the country.
Okay.
And then, so for here in Arizona, for example, this is a state that requires a license to practice athletic training.
Okay.
So I had to apply for a license in this state, and I have to renew that license yearly.
Really? Okay. And then you also have to get the continuing ed to keep your
Continue, yeah.
certification.
So I got, it's continuing education. I have to get 50 credits every 2 years is what it is now. You know, and it's something that takes time, and there's different conferences and different things that I go to make sure I hit that. But to keep my license, to keep my certification, it is at 50 CEUs every 2 years.
Cool. Okay. So what do you like about your job? What don't you like about your job?
What I like about my job is, I think, you know, I think a lot of athletic trainers grew up around athletics, and you know, they say, I don't know, I've kind of realized if, you know, those who can't play coach and those who can't coach become an athletic trainer. So I would say that's, the part I like about it is, you know, I mean, this is how I come to work. I'm in sweatpants and a pullover jacket, and I get to work with a bunch of guys that are pretty motivated, and
That's great.
I think some of the best friends that I've made in this profession have come from working in this profession, and I don't think there's too many jobs out there where you become best friends with the people you work with all the time.
Yeah,
You know, so you get stuck in a
right.
cubicle in some places, and you don't maybe interact as much as you would. And certainly here, I think there is a family dynamic that exists in this world. And
Cool.
you know, there's guys that I worked with when I was at Horizon that are friends to this day, and certainly
cool.
there's coaches that I have worked with that
Yeah.
I'll be brothers with forever. So I think those relationships are unbeatable. And that's certainly one of my favorite parts. And the other side is truly the core of, I like helping the guys that I work with. A lot of the guys here at ASU will have a chance to play professional baseball, and I hope, my goal is that when they leave here, they can say, man, some of the best care I got and some of the best education I got on how to take care of myself came from ASU. And that's something they can take with them forward. So I guess that's part of what motivates me. And the other side is I like being in a competitive environment where there's 45 people in this building that are motivated to put rings on their fingers. And so I think that camaraderie that you build within that and the desire to win is always there. And certainly I take ownership in our wins and losses. So I think that's what I like about it.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think a lot of athletic trainers would say they don't like the hours. Maybe I'm a glutton for that punishment because I like the grind a little bit. You know, I'm not going to say that it's not hard on my wife and son, but she understands it, and that's a huge part of being able to do this job. But the hard part is the hours, being away from your family from time to time. And I think we go on the road every other week, where I'm gone from Thursday to Sunday, and sometimes a full week to 10 days at times, depending on where our road trips take us.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, the hours are long, and it takes some time, but again, I think I'm a kind of even though that may be seen as a negative sometimes, a lot of times I enjoy it too. I enjoy the travel, I enjoy jumping on a plane and going to some pretty neat places. So, the other side of that, the pay will never match the hours. So, and that's, I think, something that will change, especially with the educational side that we talked about. I think some of that salary will start to match, but I'll never get compensated for what I do. And so the trade-off there is do something you like, right? So I certainly am able to, you know, help sustain my family financially. Everybody in the country wants to make more money, so you know, if the trade-off is I come to work happy every day, I truly look forward to coming to work every day, and then I go home and I really, if my worst day at work, I've always said, if my worst day at work is a loss, then I'm doing better than most people in the country. So I do truly enjoy that part of it where, you know, or if my worst day at the office is a guy that got hurt, then, you know, those days are rough sometimes, but I think I'm doing pretty good all in all. If I enjoy my job that much, that's all I have to complain about.
Do you feel appreciated by the team in the school?
Absolutely. The school, this institution, especially with our leadership that's in place, I think the whole department, you know, I know coaches from other programs and other teams, and you get to know some athletes from the other teams. Our athletic director has been awesome to work with. He really, and the people involved in this, the whole department, I think really care about each other, which is, I think it's unique. I don't think that exists in every place.
Yeah.
It certainly exists here for the most part, more so than other places.
Yeah.
So appreciation is definitely there. I work with the coaching staff that, again, I've built not just a professional relationship with, but it's a personal relationship too.
Yeah. Good.
We, they appreciate what I do, and I appreciate what they do, and we work together really well. The players, I think, at the end of the day, is who I'm after in terms of making sure that they're pleased with my efforts. And again, I think this is probably one of the best clubhouses I've ever worked with, and it's a great bunch of guys, and we're pretty close. So I mean, we just spent 4 days in the bottom of the Grand Canyon with 4 of them. We did that hike, and we took 4 of them down, and this is, yeah, I mean, it's certainly appreciated by everybody around here.
Yeah, like working long hours and maybe pay not matching it. It's one thing to be appreciated and have people acknowledge you, but it's another thing if they don't, then I think that
it would make it hard.
Yeah, burnout.
Absolutely, and
it is worth it.
Yeah, and that's real. I mean, that happens in this profession for sure.
Right.
So.
Right. Do you have a favorite story, like a favorite player that you really maybe helped make a difference? Putting Jesse on the spot here.
No, that's okay. I've been doing this now. I've been certified for 10 years this year.
Okay.
As of last May, it was my 10-year anniversary of being a certified athletic trainer. This is going into my 4th season at ASU. So yeah, there's probably a few stories. Let's see. There's some of the stories of guys making it to the big leagues. That's cool to see that we work with, and even your husband. We saw a couple of them this year. That's been cool to see. So those are always feel good stories. I think the ones that really kind of hit home for me and mean the most to me are the ones where a guy gets hurt, and like we had a couple years ago, we had a guy here blow out his UCL, had to get Tommy John surgery, and that's essentially a year-long process to get back, and more now the way things are going. So I rehabbed him from start to finish all year. I was actually in his surgery with him. Went to every follow-up. The kid was highly motivated to do everything that was asked of him, and worked hard in here daily. His throwing program looked great. Finally got to that year mark or so, just after, when he was cleared to go back and pitch in a game, and he went and pitched against U of A. His first game back, and punched out a guy. I think he got out of the inning without giving up a base runner. And I met him on the top step, and he just came and hugged me, and that to me is the best feeling. Not because what he accomplished in terms of performance, but getting back to what he got back to. I think that's what drives me, I think. And those are my best days. Right? So, as far as that, the funny stories, there's a million of them in this game. Right? Really? And most of them are probably not G-rated. But there's, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of personality in sports. And so, let's see, what's a good one I could probably tell? Well, I think one of my first ones that stick with me actually goes back to my Horizon days, and it was my first year at Horizon, and there's a kid by the name of Tommy Joseph that grew up here in Scottsdale, went to Horizon, and then was drafted out of high school to the Giants, and he made it to the big leagues about 5 years later or so, after a long road of some injuries that he had to deal with. But this was my first introduction, and I was fortunate enough to work with a guy like that right out of the chute. Right, this is a guy that's 30 scouts at every game. Here I am, fresh out of undergrad, trying to figure out my way, and then there's this he was just a big kid that loved playing baseball. Cool. And he came up to me, and they called me J-Lo. J-Lo, what do you want tonight? I'm at least gonna hit one tonight off this guy. And I said, I don't know, show me one of them. He's like, do you want a big backspinning, towering fly ball over Greenway, or do you want just a missile out of here? I said, I'm a big fan of the missiles. Just hit a missile and see where it goes. Well, his first at bat, he just hit an absolute missile. It was still going up as it left field. Wow. And I was impressed. dude, that was awesome, you know, or whatever. And he's like, I'm not done yet. And he came back, he's like, I actually wanted the back spinner. And the next at bat hit it just a monster fly ball over the light pole into Greenway Road. And
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, oh my gosh, like this guy can just call a shot, you know,
Yeah.
so
Jeez.
that's a fun one. We have some guys on this team now. If you guys look him up, Spencer Torkelson he led the nation in home runs last year as a freshman. He hit 26 last year, I believe, or 27.
Okay.
But a kid out of Northern California comes in here as a freshman. He quickly kind of made his name for hitting a lot of home runs. And there was a team that, you know, the word had kind of gotten out, and about halfway through the season we played a conference game, and the other dugout, it was here at home, the other dugout was chirping at him.
Okay.
And give him, you know, walked him, and he grounded out one time, guys trying to pitch around him. In his third at bat, he hit an absolutely out of the park, and as he's going around third base, he kind of let the other team know exactly what he thought of what they had to say, and I've never seen a dugout more quiet. At that point, it was a big home run. It put us ahead, and he kind of had some choice words for him, and they didn't say anything because I mean it was such an impressive at bat as it was. That, so those things are cool, and of course there's the interactions that go on in the training room and in the clubhouse. That there's a lot of entertaining stuff that happens around here for sure. So, but those are some of the fun stories right off the top of my head, I guess. Other than that, winning, you know, dog piles at Scottsdale, you know, those you can't beat those trips to Enid, Oklahoma. I mean,
Yes.
I think the only other thing on my list is Omaha. So I think that'll be, no offense to Alex, but that'll be a tough one to beat if we make it to Omaha. So.
No, we'll let you have that.
Yeah.
For some of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe it's getting more selective to
Uh-huh.
become an athletic trainer. So what do you think? Is it worth it to go through all that? I mean, will there be a job for people should they go on and complete all that work?
I think there will always be a job for athletic training. I don't think the profession's going to go away at all.
Okay.
In fact, I think our responsibilities are just going to grow, and they already are. So not just in a setting like this at a college or a high school or in professional sports where there's athletic trainers on the sidelines and in the dugouts. I think you're starting to see the shift where doctors are starting to see more and more of a use for athletic trainers, and they're hiring them as physician extenders.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're almost acting as physician assistants.
Yeah.
We just don't have the credentials to be able to do everything a physician assistant does.
Okay.
So I think our roles are growing more and more. Certainly, there's athletic trainers working in physical therapy clinics in a more 9-to-5 type setting. You're finding us in doctors' offices, and you're certainly seeing us in this world. I think even there's some places where these sports-specific strength and conditioning type places are hiring athletic trainers to not only take care of the injuries, but we have kind of a fundamental background in how to, you know, exercise and work out and strength train, where some of that crossover is existing, and you're kind of finding us in these different roles here and there. So I do think it's growing. I don't, if somebody goes and gets a graduate degree and a certification in athletic training, you'll always have a job.
Okay.
It's tougher to get these jobs for sure. They're few and far between. Really, all in all, at the end of the day. But there's always jobs at high schools and junior colleges, and of course, the higher you move up, it really depends on how much effort you want to put in to get there, I guess.
Okay.
Certainly, it's about who you know. I'm certainly a product of who you know. I don't think my resume was the best looking resume compared to the applicants that I was up against for this job, but I had made an impact on the right people to be able to get it. So is it worth it? I think that's up to every individual. It's 100% worth it for me and my family.
Okay.
I would do it over again in a heartbeat. I think I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
I think a lot of people do get burnt out, though. You work a lot of hours, and sometimes you deal with a lot of crap that may not justify the salary. And that's okay. But I think that's kind of why, again, going back, why the shift has moved to a graduate program is we can kind of weed some of that out early as a profession. you know, you're only going to get a graduate degree in something that you really want to do. And so I think that will help, but I think it's truly up to every individual. If you're a glutton for the punishment of long hours and bad pay and sometimes working in a high school and crazy parents and whatever else, go for it. And if that's worth it to you, absolutely, you're gonna love it. If you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you won't last. You just won't last. And it's okay. There's plenty of other things you can do, but you know, that's really what it comes down to with this job and whether or not to do it. Yeah.
All right. So, do you have any other advice outside of career stuff? How to be happy? How to enjoy life?
I'll tell you. I very much. Well, let's see. So there's probably 2 courses of career life that I was going to go to. Right?
Okay.
And one was I juggled being a police officer at one point. I juggled go to the military like out of high school. Like those were 2 things that I had in my family, and I really wanted to do that. And then I was young, and I wanted to try to play baseball still, and I wanted to try to do my stuff, and so I went the educational route, and it's led me to here, which is great. But I think every time I do one of these interviews, I always share the story that everybody has an uncle or a dad or a grandfather or a friend or somebody that has given them advice at one point. And so I remember distinctly, my dad worked kind of a dead-end job for 24 years at that company. So pretty, you know, all my life growing up to that point, he worked for this company that he hated. He was in a cubicle. He didn't have a college education. He did it purely so he can collect a paycheck and put food on the table. But he came home miserable every day. He hated going every day. And so he came home one night, and we were living in Maricopa, and you know, he was big on sitting outside and smoking a cigar after he got off work, and I was out there doing something. We had 10 acres in the desert, so I was always outside doing something. And he said to me, I don't care what you do for a living, but make sure you do something you like. He's like, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much you know, what it is. If you make sure you can do something that you're going to enjoy till you're 75 years old, because if you're anything like me, you're going to have to work till you're 75. I said, okay. I said, you know, and that stuck with me. And so for me, I truly believe I found something that I can do till I'm 75 years old, as long as I'm physically willing and able. I'll do this job, and I'll go home happy every day. But I think more than anything, it's definitely that. Like, there are people that chase the dollar that live miserable. There are people that you know, chase a dream job and think that it's going to be the end-all be-all because it has a certain status to it. They're eventually going to, I think, get slapped in the face by it. You know, certainly I would say that this job comes. I like going around and saying that, you know, if I'm asked what I do, I'm proud to say I work for ASU baseball. People go, oh wow, that's really cool. So that status is fun, but that's certainly not what drives me for it. I truly enjoy coming in here. I enjoy the people I work with, and the relationships I build. And I think that part gives me so much enjoyment that I can come to work every day and do it.
Awesome.
So I guess that's the best way I can answer that question in terms of advice. Just do something. Money will take care of itself. It's one way or another. If you're making money somehow, you will enjoy your life if you enjoy your job and the people that you surround yourself with. So doesn't matter if it's $40,000 a year or $40 million a year. I've seen a lot of millionaires that are unhappy.
Absolutely.
So don't let that be the driving force, and do something you enjoy.
Very cool. So if somebody wants to shadow you, is there that opportunity here? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look into that for sure. I probably take a small amount of those, just in terms of, you know, especially in the fall, I could always use help.
Okay.
I would be all about teaching and giving somebody the opportunity to understand the profession that's truly interested in it.
Okay.
The only thing I ever expect is I want the guys to know that that person is just as motivated as I am for their well-being.
Yeah.
So absolutely, especially in fall. In the spring, it gets a little tougher just because of me being gone here and there. And then I typically get one of those graduate students from NAU in the fall as well, and I try not to take away from them, especially when the time is limited. But absolutely, we could figure out a way, and if there's somebody that's, I would say probably wants to come in the fall and go through the fall ball grind, and they're good and they earn it, I'd be happy to have them around in the spring.
Okay, very cool. All right, so I can share your contact info on I'll just put it on the screen or
Absolutely,
something.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll give you my email, and they can shoot me over an email, we'll make that happen if they're really interested in it.
Very cool, all right. Anything else you want to tell us about that we haven't covered, I haven't asked, or hasn't come up?
No, I mean, I think specifically here, I do, each stop has been different professionally, right? Horizon, it's about just trying to make sure that injuries are being taken care of. And you don't, because you're one person to 600 athletes at a high school, large high school, it's impossible to do all the preventative stuff. Scottsdale, it's kind of in between, where I had less athletes, there was 2 of us, where I was able to put a little bit more time in some of the preventative care. I would say, in fact, I was just talking with one of our coaches on more recovery stuff in this sport. And I would say here, I get to put so much, because I live here with just 40 athletes, or 35, I put so much more effort into, probably 60% of what I do is recovery.
Okay.
30% is on corrective exercise, trying to train their bodies in a physical therapy way, I guess, in the corrective exercise way to help them prevent injury. And the other 10%, hopefully, is taking care of injuries that happen.
Okay.
So much of my focus is preventative in nature anymore here that that's kind of where the focus goes, as opposed to trying to spend all my time treating injuries.
Right. Okay.
That's some of the differences here, I guess. And then outside of that, I think listen to her, because she cares a lot. So by all means, understand
Very
that.
generous.
She big heart in Jackie, so make sure she knows.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for your time today, Jesse.
My pleasure.
Very, very
Always
cool
happy
of
to
you.
do it for you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely.
DJ, can you give Uncle Jesse a high five?
Good
Nice.
one, pal.
Yeah, all right.
You want baseball too? I'll get you a baseball now that you don't have a ton of those. You want a good baseball? You got a baseball at home? I'm sure
Like
you
your
do.
baseball at home.
Yeah.